It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's sourdough. Hey, it's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of Breaking Bread with Tom Papa. I am Tom Papa. Thank you so much for being here at the table once again. We have a great show for you. I don't know if you've seen the documentary on Showtime yet. The one and only C.Gregory. It is a great, great documentary, and we have the filmmakers here with us. We have Andre Gaines, who is the director, and C.Gregory's son, Dr. Christian Gregory. Both of them great people, great artists, and they put together this film that is so perfect. So perfect. I mean, for our show, for a show that is into comedy and diet and food, this is perfect for us because not only is C.Gregory this amazing, amazing character, he was such a amazing comedian and then just a pioneer and soldier in the civil rights movement. And then he transformed into, he had the second crusade, or third crusade, which was helping people eat the right way so they could live a full, great life. And literally, if you put into Google C.Gregory, it comes up comedian, civil rights, and diet. Those are like the three ways that they want to take you. Three profound movements, three profound passions, and he was way ahead of his time. I mean, everything that he became a vegan after doing these fasts, and I mean, veganism at that time wasn't even it was weird when my girlfriend did it just 15 years ago. Not technically, it was 25 now, I guess. Well, the math isn't important. The point is, C.Gregory is this amazing, amazing man, and it is captured in this film, and I'm so happy to have the filmmakers with us today. We'd like to thank the good people for sponsoring our program today from Greensmith Farms, CBD. Greensmith Farms makes all natural, full spectrum craft CBD tinctures and gummies. I got some of them. I ate them. I enjoyed my day. Done. Not high, not like you're doing it to get a buzz, just makes you feel better, takes the edge off. And right now you can get 20% off your order with code PAPA, P-A-P-A, at checkout. Go to greensmithfarmshemp.com. That's greensmithfarmshemp.com and enter the code PAPA, P-A-P-A, at checkout for 20% off of your order. We'll talk more about that a little bit later, but thank you to our good friends at Greensmith Farms. So I want to direct you also, I have a couple things that you need to know about. July 30th, I will be in Las Vegas. July 30th, I have a big show in Las Vegas at the Wynn, at the theater, the Encore Theater there. Big show. Very excited. Lara Bites, who is on our podcast a little earlier, the hilarious Lara, she's going to be on the show as well. And it's going to be huge. It's going to be great. And we want you to come spread the word. Also, the family reunion tour is now up on sale everywhere. Go to tompapa.com, direct you to, there's a nice map there, and you find where you live, and you press the little button, and there you go. That's where we will meet. Go to tompapa.com, the family reunion tour. Jersey coming up. We added a second show in New Jersey on August 27th. We're going to Salt Lake City. We're going to the Fitzgerald. We're going to Atlantic City at the Borgata, Florida, Indianapolis, Chicago, Atlanta. We're going everywhere. Very excited to see you out there on the road. If you want to bring bread, go ahead. Also, I want to direct you to my YouTube channel, Getting Baked with Tom Papa. I just released a new video. You know, we had a whole series of videos on how to make sourdough, and we also did, I think, pretzels. We have a bunch of stuff up there, and we took a little break from it when things got busy, and now we are back, and I show you how to make a ciambella. And this was perfect because we were literally filming it while Italy was winning the Euro Cup on last Sunday. It was this big Italian moment, and we were making ciambella, and we're filming it and sharing it with everybody. Very excited for you to see it. So if you listen to this and watch this broadcast on YouTube, you've probably already seen it. If not, if you just listen to these podcasts, go to YouTube, go to the Tom Papa channel. That's where you get this podcast as well as the Getting Baked series, which we're going to be adding a lot more to. They're really fun to do. And, I'm just figuring it out and learning it myself. So we're trying to kind of share that experience and let you in. And if you want to try making some of this stuff, it's great. We also hit just a new one on olive bread. It literally is my favorite bread of all time. It is green olives, Kalamata olives, herbs de Provence, lemon zest in this. Use your sourdough starter. It is amazing. And we just filmed that also. That's going to come out in the next week or so. So a lot going on. And how great was that Italy win? I apologize if you weren't rooting for them, but it was exciting. I'm not going to pretend that I was watching all the matches along the way. I only showed up at the finals, to be honest. But if that's the way you should do it, you get to show up for the big games. And not only did we make the ciambella early in the day while we were watching, of course we celebrated after with this pepper and olive rigatoni, made our own sauce. We made our own bread. We had, what else did we have? We had roasted broccoli with it. It was just a big Italian fest. Oh, this bottle of Barolo, this amazing bottle of Barolo. I forget the name of it. I'll post it. So good. Such a big celebration. Just a little Italian pride, especially after the year that we went through. And especially, it came down to a shootout. So at the end, it could have gone either way. England was right on the cusp of having a celebration as well. And it was at Wembley, so they were all dying for it also. But win or lose, just to see 67,000 people in that arena having a great time, just that we're coming out of all of this stuff and just able to celebrate, and then Italy winning on top made it even better. So it was really, really, really great. All right, let's get to the interview right away because these guys are so great. This film is so good. The one and only C.Gregory. It's on Showtime now. Go and stream it. He was such a cool, amazing comedian in a time when you didn't have black comedians talking to predominantly white audiences in this smooth, controlled, insightful way. And he just broke through the culture and he becomes this amazing, amazing comedian, and then puts it all on the line when the civil rights challenge was happening. His good friends, we're going to get into all this in the interview, but the amount of courage that look, to be a comedian is kind of brave. To go then and take that star power that he had and put it literally at the end of a gun barrel and put everything he had on the line for the betterment of humanity and the black culture in America is just, it takes a level of courage that is hard to really understand. And then he progresses and goes on to just try and help human beings and eat better and live better lives. It really, when you watch this documentary, you come into it. I came into it as a fan of comedy, and I left as a fan of humanity. He makes you see the good in people, and he makes you want to be a better person. I can't express enough admiration, not only for C.Gregory, but for also Andre Gaines and Dr. Christian Gregory, who put together this film, and now we get to sit down and spend some quality time with them. So enjoy. Hey, Andre. Good to see you. Good.
To see you again.
Your eyes are like, where's the link eyes?
Wait, what'd you say?
You've got that gaze of where the hell is the link?
Yeah. No, Julie didn't. I don't think she had it confirmed in my calendar, but I'm glad Christian reached out. So,
Oh,
all good.
perfect.
Yeah.
Well, good to see you again. We'll jump right in.
Yep.
Thanks for being here. This is how I start off each of these podcasts. So I'm going to start off by jumping right in and asking you, what did you eat today?
I had a Caesar salad from Trader Joe's.
Nice.
I've had my ass in this chair literally since like 8 o'clock this morning. And so just by virtue of that, I was able to hop on without any reservation.
Nice.
And that's literally all I ate. But I will say in the morning, I had some C.Gregory Caribbean shake.
Really?
I mixed into my regular smoothie.
Oh,
And
man.
it's good. It's good stuff. It's thick. It gave me enough energy to last on only eating a salad. I can't tell you that much. So.
Oh man, I have a follow-up question to that because when I saw the shake, I was like, man, is that still around? So that you're drinking it, that's exciting.
It's a new version. Yeah, I mean, Christian can definitely be the best pitch man here, but it's a new version of the Bahamian diet.
Yeah.
And it's very thick, which was I was like, let me get this together because my normal fruit smoothie with I use some superfood in there and some other vitamins, and it's fairly loose. But this is like, oh, this thickens right up on you.
This is the day and age we live in where we don't communicate, verbally, but I knew that because I saw Andre post it. And so it's like when my nieces and nephews come over, they'll be across the table from me eating the food my wife and I cook. They won't say a word, but I'll look at their Twitter account and I'll say, oh, most delicious pasta we've ever had. So I knew Andre had the shake this morning, and it looked extremely thick in the picture that he posted. So I was a tad alarmed, and I said, I got a back channel with my little brother to have him reduce some of the ingredients.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Dial this in.
I added it to my regular ingredients of the fruit, like frozen fruits and vegetables. And before I knew it, that thing was thick. I was like, man, this is going to clean out some serious stuff.
Yeah, it's supposed to hit the lower GI kind of heavy. That's the intent. That's the intent.
Oh yeah, it did it. Yeah, all I had room for was a Trader Joe's salad. I tell you that. So
mission accomplished.
Good job. And what did you have today, Christian?
Well, again, and this isn't shameless plugs here, but I start every morning with the Caribbean shake. My dad has some delicious energy drinks. So that's my pre and post workout routine.
Nice.
And then, I'm still not a hardcore vegan. I'd say 80 to 90% of my wife and I's diet is vegan. And the other 10% is what my dad used to always say, it depends who's watching. So,
so how far will you go into the non-vegan world?
I mean, it really depends who's watching. I mean, that's full on.
So we've had some party time, Christian and I.
It never goes over 10%. See, and I get that, as we've mentioned before, my dad raised us on a farm as vegan. So when most folks were experimenting with hard drugs, us Gregory's were experimenting with hard candy. So Snicker bars, Hershey's. And I would say that, high fructose corn syrup, I've never done heroin, but I would imagine they hit kind of the same when it's pure to your body. So, but we've traveled all over the world. And so I've seen some pretty unsavory kitchens. So my response is, show me the kitchen. I'll let you know my dietary restrictions. And so I never give them out first. So, but it really all depends. I mean, occasionally some clean beef, occasionally clean chicken, poultry, fish. Not really a pork.
That's really the key, though. I mean, honestly, it's
clean eating.
Yeah, it's like we used to joke all the time. I mean, I think sort of while I was working on the project, it's maybe like halfway through it, I said to Christian, I was like, your dad doesn't like food, does he? And he's like, no, no. If he could put it in a pill form and drink it, like he'd be
Absolutely would.
just as happy. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can roll like that because I like food. I'm not a food
He was
addict.
no foodie.
Yeah, but I'm a foodie. I like trying a bunch of
No
different
foodie.
foods. I like different cuisines, different cultures, all that type of stuff. I don't eat pork. I haven't eaten it since I was, I don't know, maybe 12.
Wow.
But pretty much everything else, I'll try it at least once.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's sort of struck me that he was not a foodie.
Yeah.
A food category like that.
And as a result of that, he doesn't like, my dad didn't like to do anything that interrupted with talking because he loved to talk. So he didn't like Christmas, didn't like movies, didn't like eating, didn't like parties, anything that would, okay, Dick, now you got to be quiet because we're going to do this. He typically didn't like. So
it's hilarious. That's so funny. My daughter actually pointed out that she said that I was talking with food in my mouth. And as a comedian, it's like, well, I can't stop. I can't. I just heard someone say something. I have to jump in.
You gotta jump in.
I can't. There's no time to swallow.
No, you just gotta do it. Yeah, I get on my dad, who's an amateur comedian himself. He does that all the time. It's like you're talking with food in your mouth. Like just wait. So I get
that's the funniest stuff.
It's the timing. The timing. I can't mess with the timing.
Yeah. That's true.
Well, congratulations on the film. You guys were on my radio show on Sirius a couple weeks ago, right when this was coming out, and it's been really well received. I hear a lot of people, a lot of comedians talking about it, and you must be feeling some love since the release.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely feeling it. It was a blessing. It really was just like we couldn't have asked for a better response at all. I mean, it was the critical response was great. It was certified fresh, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and
wow.
Really for us, Christian and myself in particular, we were like, I made this film for the audience. I made it for the people, and Christian would add on to that Dick Gregory was a man of the people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we really wanted the people to love it. And they just have the outpouring of love and response to it has just been incredible. And it's still going because, nobody watches anything when it comes on that way.
Right.
No sort of event television. It's all streaming. So totally. People, it's just like, yeah, I watched it. I watched the other day, just stunning work. My God, it's just great. And just to continue to get those is really, really, fills my heart.
Oh, it's so great. It's inspiring. It really is inspiring. I mean, I watched it for a second time, and man, you turn that thing off and you just want to be better.
Yeah.
You're like, what am I doing with my life? How can I improve? This man did not stop.
Did not stop. And we had to leave a lot of it on the cutting room floor. I mean, that's probably, if we're lucky, representative of about 60% of it. There's a good 40%, 30 to 40% of it that from a storytelling standpoint that we could have, dove into and made a whole nother movie out of. And so to get when as a director, when you make something, particularly as a filmmaker, when you make something and you specifically try to evoke an emotion from the audience. I mean, that's always the question when we're in the middle of something that I ask my team, like, are we achieving that? Is that evoking that emotion? And it's hard to tell that when you're in the middle of it because you're working on it all the time.
Right.
But to get that response when somebody watches it who has no relationship to the project and is watching it for the first time, and to hear them like yourself say, I watched it twice, or I watched it 3 times, or I watched it this. It like, wrap me up in a blanket and put me in the grave. I'm just as pleased as punch. I can go die somewhere.
Yeah.
We got too much work still to do.
I know, right? Too much work to do. Right?
Christian, was there a, this is your father, so it's a heavy thing. It's a heavy thing to begin with, and then to see. Very rarely does anybody get to see their parents' life documented from beginning to end like this. That had to be pretty impactful for you.
It was incredibly impactful, emotional. I don't proclaim that my ear is any closer to the streets than Andre's, but handling my dad's social media, I see a lot of it on the front end, and people are just elated over this film. I mean, my dad has some, I oversaw my dad's Nike commercial, and that didn't, everyone didn't love it. There was a little split. They were like, well, Dick Gregory doing a commercial, Dick Gregory. So I've always kind of I gauged the response, and this has been so one-sided, which I'm pleased to say, and it speaks to the work. It speaks to the passion that Andre poured into this project in capturing the passion of the man, which is not easy. As you may know, Joe Morton did a one-man play off Broadway based on my dad's life. And so my dad was alive when that first came out. So I saw it once with my dad when he was living. I've seen it twice since he's passed. And so the gifts just keep coming from my dad did a lot of remote raising of us Gregorys, and it wasn't an absentee dad situation. It was your dad's on the front line. It was almost like if you had a dad, your dad was in the space program and your dad's on the moon. Well, you knew he was loving you from afar. You just knew you couldn't reach out and touch him. But to now have so much, tactile stimulation through all of these, audio visual and live arts and stage arts, it really is. It's the gift that keeps on giving, as Andre can attest to. We're not done. And this is because, this is just almost a cliff note to the man's life. There's so much more still to tell. As Andre said, there's 30, 40, maybe 50% that was left out. And it just speaks to you about people's egos. All of my dad's friends that knew him in a different section of life that we didn't cover are the ones that are very critical. Like, well, when he was 84 and we went and stood in front of the CIA building, I said, well, you know what? We didn't quite get to that part.
We didn't quite get to that.
But hold on, hang in there. We'll get there. But no, it's just been an awesome experience for me, my mom, the entire Gregory family. This is a true blessing. We had a viewing party here in DC. Eaton Hotel here in DC hosted us. It was about 100 people there. And as I mentioned to Andre, 2 other viewing parties in addition are, so 3 in total. We had real kind of bandwidth issues connecting to networks, connecting to Showtime streaming platforms. So we were hoping that was indicative of how many people on the 4th of July were trying to show this man love. And we went to some other movies to see, and they played just fine. So, folks don't always let you in to see behind their inner matrix, but I'm pretty certain there was some surges in Chicago.
A little bit of a bottleneck.
The folks who really were eager to see it. And so we were happy to wait, knowing that was most likely the rationale behind the delay.
Wow.
Even some comedians reached out. I'm sorry. I mean, it's like I have to give shout out. Judd Apatow reached out to me directly. I sent Christian a screenshot of it and was just so excited about that. Jay Duplass, who I worked with on Lady in the Dale, a great friend. Just of their reaction, it's more of just their reaction, wow, this is really, really well done. And just the being able to evoke that with your friends, and then being able to evoke that with some high profile people.
Coolest.
It's really great. It's
Really shows you the reach of the arts. And as I mentioned to Andre, Cooper Hefner, Hugh Hefner's son, reached out to me and was incredibly moved by it. And I said, well, we're one generation away from two of our fathers that really created, captured lightning in a bottle together. So I told him, I said, we have some work to do, young man. I said, we need to get together and figure some things out. So making our generation look bad.
Oh, that Playboy Mansion too soon, man.
Get it back.
That was an amazing story. I mean, it's very rare to have someone who actually has a night that is the break, like the big break in their career. Everyone's always like, well, it's around this time. It was kind of like it all built on top of each other. But when he was going around, he was performing in clubs, struggling as a comedian, and then goes to Chicago to the Playboy Club and goes up in front of mostly white Southern audience. And I didn't realize he stayed up on stage for almost 3 hours.
I mean,
he was up for a while.
He could have really crashed and burned, and everyone at the Playboy Club was expecting him to crash and burn. That's why they were pleading with him not to go on. And as he said, you don't know what I've gone through to get here. And so I think, and if you go back and you really look at that tape, you almost see that he's not really laughing at a lot of his material. I think he like a technician, he knew, and I think he thought, if I laugh too much, they may view it as I'm thinking I'm one of the boys here, and that it was or
laughing at them.
Exactly.
What a fine line.
Fine line. I mean, it's a line that most comedians would never have to fathom. You know, it's like performing for the Taliban. You know, it's
but that's a thing now. That's a you know, Jimmy Fallon laughs at all of his own jokes. You know, it's like almost every one of the cast members of SNL
laugh at their own stuff.
Part of their thing to laugh at their own jokes, so that you're kind of in on it, to the point where I felt they are like using it too much.
Laughter's contagious, so
it's like it's contagious. So it's like, wait, maybe the skit is not as funny as it should be, so I'm gonna kind of laugh at myself doing it, and it'll make you laugh. And it's like, well, we're kind of on to you at this point. But the ones that do it well, like Dave Chappelle, who, you know, sort of laughs at his own jokes, is doing it at very key moments in the arc of his comedy routine that are, you know, fall in line with the joke itself. It's not him, you know, standing up there just sort of riffing. And Dick Gregory didn't do that. It was, you know, he was a consummate professional.
It was more like a wink, like when you see the tape of that set, and he's just like, it's like a little bit of a, I know what I'm saying, I know what I'm doing, but he's drawing them in, but he's not gonna go over the line. It's so delicate. It was so delicate. I mean, the thing that everybody kept saying when all the comedians and Chris Rock and Kamau Bell and anytime anybody was talking about him, smooth.
Exactly. That joke about the cigarettes, which is my favorite one. It's like I you know, made the mistake of writing off 180 cartons on my income tax, and every time the IRS saw me, they said I better be smoking. It's like him smirking in between the delivery of that setup and punchline. Is the new version of that is cracking up at that joke, like, oh my God, it's so fucking funny. And it's like he's setting this thing up for you, and it's your job to laugh. Like that's right, here to entertain you as a comedian. So
And in fairness, I mean, especially, I mean, Tom, you know this as a comedian. My dad would always carve out the difference between being a humorist and between being a comedian. So Dick Gregory, the humorist, off stage, it was almost off-putting how much he laughed at his own jokes. I mean, so when you were just sitting around and kicking it with him, and he always, whether it was, you know, tea in his mouth, food in his mouth, it came out immediately, and it was some of the most hilarious stuff. And he would always say the funniest laughs you've ever had were not from, you weren't paying from them. They weren't from a comedian. They were from an uncle. They were from a big brother. They were something that was topical and just witty, and you just laughed uncontrollably. So he mastered both sides of that, the comedian side and just the humorous side, and it was just a blessing.
Yeah, and so he gets this success, and he's so dominant in the culture. He's won over all of America, and he's making real money, and he has a real career, and he's got a family. And then when he starts going into the civil rights, I mean, I don't understand. I don't think people know the impact, how dangerous it was. When the thing that really struck me is that this wasn't just like, oh, my career might be in jeopardy if I start marching. Oh, I might lose some money. I mean, between Eggers and Malcolm, I mean, people were dying around him.
Lots of them.
Oh,
I mean, he was, I mean, Medgregor's was his brother, essentially, is what it came out. It was like, right? I mean, he was that close with him.
That close.
For him to be assassinated, And then in the next clip, he's walking with Martin Luther King, and then he gets taken out. I don't know if there's many people that have that fortitude to stand up and go stand in front of a mic in front of America at that point.
And just to quickly say, my dad met Dr. King while he was at the White House in the Oval Office meeting with JFK. JFK introduced my dad to MLK. And within a year of that time, Medgar was dead, JFK was dead, Richard Jr., my dad's oldest son, had died. So there was a profound amount of sadness and grief. And I've said this many times before, and we alluded to it or stated it, but just didn't do a deep dive in the movie. But my dad has always credited the fact that he left Medgar's side to go and be with the family when Richard Jr. passed. And that set him on a kind of different trajectory. Had that not happened, he was all but certain he would have been with Medgar the night that Medgar was assassinated. And on many occasions, he said that he wished he had. On many occasions, he had said he wished he had been there. It would have been an honor to have died with Medgar. That's just how close the two of them were.
Wow.
But not at the time, but looking back on it now, I'm almost certain my dad had a little survivor's remorse after Medgar died. And that caused him to be not reckless, but fearless. So a part of that fearlessness of just, I'm kind of on borrowed time. Everyone around me. Then you go on later in life, he was great friends with John Lennon, who was struck down by gun violence. Larry Flint, he was supposed to be with Larry Flint in Georgia when Larry Flint was shot, assassination attempt, but shot and life devastated. So my dad was supposed to be with Larry that day. So it was and looking at it now, people say, well, that's odd, you're around. But in the 60s and 68, that was like being in SEAL Team 6 together. A lot of folks around you aren't coming back. And that's what it was like. And he always would say he was a soldier, not a soldier killing people, but a soldier willing to die to protect the, all of not just civil rights, but human rights, all of humanity.
He actually says that in the movie to, kill, not die. I mean, die, not kill, for the movement. He's like, you have to die for something. And it's just, it's crazy. If you're surrounded by that much death, though, we're very comfortable,
Yes.
We're very, very, like, extremely so. We'll complain about the, 2 degrees of the change in weather.
Right.
And let alone going down and marching somewhere where you can be lynched. Like,
that people complain that they got a bad reaction from a tweet.
Yeah,
like that's
that's how sensitive we are now. And it's like, you can get Gregory. Yes, the cameras were on, but the cameras were also on George Floyd. The cameras were on Eric Garner.
So much.
You can still be killed with cameras on, and you can especially be killed in those days with all he had to do was get into the wrong car, exiting out the back of a comedy club, or be caught in an alley on his way to a restaurant after a protest or something like that. And that's the thing, is that people, we wanted to try to showcase some of that danger through the sequences, the imagery that we chose. But to understand it is just incomprehensible. It's like you would have had to have been there to really understand the degree of danger that
and the time. I mean, the time of where we were at in the country. I mean, to go from, we don't really understand how far we've come that you were able to stand up on these stages. That was a pioneer. I mean, when there were singers and there was actors, but the comedian, a black man standing and just talking to people about what's going on, that was not even a thing yet.
Not a thing.
It didn't exist.
And now look at it. And look at it now. And my dad always would point out, it's important to acknowledge the progress, because yes, we still have work to do, a profound amount of work to do. The problems have shifted. They're different. To Andre's point, we're incredibly comfortable. Folks are now being activists with, the air set on 65 on a 92-degree day, strong Wi-Fi signal, thumb activists. and it's profoundly different. And so, just like we hear everyone talk about cancel culture, and then, well, the original cancel culture was the slave trade, was the 60s and 70s Jim Crow, where teenagers being lynched because they looked the wrong way. So it's not that not sensitive to what's going on the outside, but the two, they don't compare. So because you said something inappropriate in a tweet or something and you get shut down, it's okay. Well, you live to move on.
Right.
Time's a pacifier. Those folks in the past, they didn't have that opportunity. And my dad would always say, we were fighting when they were fighting against the Klan and the movement against the Klan, to get their hoods off. And so when we looked at Charlottesville and we looked at all the things that the people's hoods were off, we could see who we were dealing with. So it was no longer this fictitious boogeyman we were really dealing with. We could say, hey, that's this person. We can hold them accountable. So that really afforded us, and it gave him great comfort when during Charlottesville, when the young lady tragically lost her life, there were two other deaths. It was two Virginia State police officers who died in a helicopter accident responding. And my dad, while he was in the hospital his final week, he was pointing out that the difference, he said, the difference, champ, is in the 60s, those officers would have been coming to reinforce and to attack us too. They were coming to help this time. And so, yes, we have a profound amount of work to do. We have not made it by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a quantum leap from where we were. That's for certain.
Yeah. It's amazing. I loved how the footage that you chose, when he would show up in these very dark times and these very fraught moments, like in the churches and stuff, he still used humor. He knew the power of a well-phrased line, and it wasn't meant to completely, tear down the house and turn this into a party, but he knew that through this humorous line, even in this darkest moment, I can say so much more than even just a long speech without that.
And just how comforting that must have been so many times I look at these clips and I don't think about my dad as much because I've had the opportunity to unpack that with him. But I think about the folks in the audience. So I think about all of those, afraid Black folks in the audience in the church that were uplifted. I mean, laughter is medicinal. I mean, all kind of happy things secrete from glands in our brain when we're laughing. So to think of all that fear that was there, if just for a moment, to pause it and allow you to breathe for a moment. And I even think to the Playboy Club, I think what that meant for those white men, many of them because of the times either were racist or knew plenty of racists, to see this Black, here they're coming to the Playboy Club, which is the biggest thing they could have ever gone to in their life. And suddenly this skinny Black guy in a suit comes out with newspapers, smoking a cigarette. That was not the show they were coming to see as the bunnies were walking around. So I wonder just psychologically what that did to them and how they went back and thought differently of Black people. And so, I mean, we could, a psychiatrist could spend quite a bit of time unpacking it, but that's kind of how my brain works, thinking how that ripple, an ongoing ripple, just would have been. And whenever that group of men heard Dick Gregory's name as he rose to stardom, that just immediately had like a reflex almost to that moment when he had his breakthrough night. So it really is incredible stuff.
Incredible. And it's amazing how ahead of the times he was. I mean, he, like, all that progress you're talking about, like, he was working towards that and trying to get to that stuff. But it was also the whole diet thing. He was literally 50 years ahead of where America was going to go towards their diets. I mean, he starts with this hunger strike and he just starts to reevaluate everything in his life of how he's eating. It was a huge change.
Yeah, that what you just said, a lot of people had sent me private notes of reacting to, like, I can't believe how he was 40, 50 years ahead of what's going on in America today. And that honestly was how I first came to know Dick Gregory, was as a drink in the 80s. It's the shake. And I didn't know him as the contemporary comedian because he really wasn't doing a ton of comedy, or he wasn't doing Tonight shows or anything like that. Yeah, it was very rare. I think he had a rare, like, 1984 appearance we found on Letterman.
Letterman.
And Letterman was even commenting on how he's not doing comedy anymore, that kind of thing. So that's how a large number of people, you know, especially my age or younger, know Dick Gregory is as a health pioneer.
Yeah.
And their relationship to him is as this health guru. And it really, I think, will be the legacy that will probably last even longer than anything else, any of the other lives that he lived, as a huge comedian, as this huge civil rights activist, and then, you know, ultimately as this health pioneer that taught people how to drink water, you know. That's just some basic ass stuff to try to stay alive.
Yeah.